The Soul Redeemer, Book 2, Chapter 24, Preparation. Jake felt uneasy as he stepped into the crosswalk on his way to the restaurant across the street from his office a few hours later. Maybe he had seen too many spy movies and his imagination was getting the best of him. He went in, sat down at the bar, and ordered to go. A moment later, a man in a black polo shirt sat down one stool away. Without looking at him, Sam said, "Hello, Jake." "You must be—" "Harry," he interrupted. "Your wife used another name, but I go by Harry. When can we talk?" "I have a meeting with a client in 30 minutes, then I'm free," Jake said. "Meet me at my rental car in the parking lot. It's bug-free, a white Hyundai Elantra," Sam said. "Okay, it'll be about 7:30. "Right." Jake picked up his food and headed back to the office. By 7:38, he was sitting in the car with Sam. "I'll make this as short as possible," Sam said. "I hear you saw Nicole today." "Yeah, that was a trip," Jake said. "She told me you were coming. What do you want me to do?" Sam said, "This has got to be hard, but you need to play along with Megan and not allow her to think that you're suspicious. Assume that you're being watched. I'm pretty sure that Megan has implants in her eyes that are like little cameras, so when you're at home, assume that everything you do and say is being seen and heard. Your car's bugged and has a tracking device on it. I didn't remove them because that would alert them that something's up. Assume that your office is also bugged, but try to act normal." Jake rubbed his chin nervously. "Right, normal. Why is this happening to us?" Sam explained as best he could and then said, "I can't give you details, but I can because you needed to know the truth and that we are working on this. Remember, Jake, things that seem too big for us are never too big for God. He's been guiding and protecting us all so far, and He will continue. He is the overcomer, and He is victorious." Jake agreed and then asked, "Can I tell Gary and Casey about Megan?" Sam was silent while he thought it through. "I'm concerned that the more people who know, the greater the danger is for them, and it could compromise the mission if word leaks out." He looked at Jake as he reconsidered. "On the other hand, they might be helpful. I'm going to let you be the judge of that. You know the situation here better than I do. Just don't say anything over the phone about this. It would be best for you to meet personally in a private place." Jake said, "Thanks, that's helpful. Casey already knows that there's something very wrong. Can you give me any kind of time frame as to when Nicole can come home?" "No," Sam answered. "I wish I could, but there are just too many things that have to fall into place first. But I hope soon. I believe that God has plans for the both of you. Now, before we go, let me pray for you, brother." Jake felt strengthened and more at peace after Sam prayed. "Thanks, man," he said as he shook Sam's hand. "I do have one more question for you." "Shoot. Did you come on a plane or—" Sam laughed. "Yeah, I had to travel the old-fashioned way. I don't know, you and Nicole must really be favored by God to be transported the way you were." Jake said, "Yeah, or just desperately needy." As Jake opened the car door, Sam said, "I'll be in touch. Take care, and God be with you." "And with you." "And Sam, take care of my wife." Sam laughed. "Right. I shouldn't have to tell you that that seems easier said than done." And then Jake laughed too. "Yeah, I see what you mean. I guess we'll have to leave her in God's hands." "See ya, buddy," Sam said as the door closed. Jake watched the car drive out the driveway before he headed to his car. He felt as if his connection to Nicole was driving out of his life. For how long? He would have to stop thinking of her if he was going to put on the act of his life and pretend to love the woman in his home. "Father, give me grace and wisdom and help." He prayed silently as he turned on the radio and tried not to think about somebody listening. Nicole awoke easily the following morning. She couldn't wait to see Sam and find out how it went with Jake. At 7:45, all three sat at the breakfast table, and the air of anticipation felt very different from the previous day. As soon as Joel had blessed the food, Nicole began asking Sam questions. "How do you think Jake's doing? Where'd you find him? What'd you tell him? Did you come up with a plan? Is he going to tell Casey about Megan? Joel intervened. Not so fast, Breeze. Let Sam eat, and then he'll brief us. She recognized that some of her impatient attitudes were due to Zira and love. She had almost forgotten how integration didn't mean just going back to how things were inside her soul. It meant incorporating new feelings and attitudes, and that because those newly integrated parts had been developmentally stuck as children, she felt childlike at times and had to retrain those parts as she would her own children. I'm sorry, Sam, she apologized. Then she almost shouted, But could you please hurry up? His scowl answered for him. Adult Nicole suddenly had compassion. I truly am sorry, Sam. I know you didn't get much sleep, and I am very grateful that you were willing to go to Jake. I'll be patient. By the time Jemima brought in the second pot of tea, they were ready to talk. As she headed back to the kitchen, Nicole asked, Isn't Jemima going to join us? Joel answered, No. If we were ever compromised and she were to be interrogated, the less she knows, the better. She called out over her shoulder, however. Besides that, old Jemima's got enough in her head and her heart to prey on without the complexity of them pesky details. And then she disappeared in the direction of the kitchen. Sam cleared his throat and told about his meeting with Jake while Nicole hung on every word. When he was finished, Joel said, I'm sure that Jake has his work cut out for him, but I think it's better that he knows what he's up against and can be watchful. How do you feel about Gary and Casey knowing, Breeze? I think it's a good idea, she said. If we're going to be praying for Megan's salvation and deliverance, Casey and the intercessors could be crucial in that part of the process. Joel tapped the table like a judge would bang his gavel on his desk. Now, on to the next step. I need for the two of you to go on a very important mission here in D.C. Nicole looked at him. Does this have anything to do with the mission we're already working on? Indirectly, he said. I need some supplies and figured that you two could go get them for me before you head off to Chicago. Well, I think that's a mission we could handle. What do you think, Sam? Nicole asked. Sam knew that this was more than just a shopping trip, but he nodded. I'm sure we can. Fine, then. I've already ordered a car, and it will be out front in, Joel looked at his watch, 5 minutes. Nicole was glad she had already showered. She quickly ran to her room to get her handbag that she had borrowed from Abigail's provisions. Joel and Sam were standing at the front door waiting for her. Now, this is a very important mission, Joel said. He handed the list to Sam and the keys to Nicole. Sam understood the meaning. This was a test to see if Nicole's programming was still active or not, and if she was ready to face the giant. Surprised, Nicole stammered, I can't drive, sir. I don't have a license. Oh, how could I have forgotten? Joel asked as he pulled something out of his pocket. I had this made up for you. Your pseudonym license, he said, and he handed it to her. She looked at it and giggled. Breeze go lightly? Is this legal? If searched, it will show up in the database as legal, he replied. Okay, so off with you two. Then he added, Nicole, even though you have the keys, Sam is in charge here. You must obey him, understood? Oh, man, do I have to? She asked, smiling. When Sam stopped walking and looked at her with a fierce expression, she added, Just kidding. Of course you're in charge. And I really would rather you drive, Sam. She held the keys out to him. No, I don't really like driving in this city. You drive. I'll direct you, he said as he settled into the passenger seat. Joel smiled at the familial relationship between those two, then stepped back inside and closed the door. Nothing to do now but wait. Several minutes later, Nicole became aware of a black sedan on their tail. She watched it for a moment and then suddenly made a quick turn to the right. Sam gripped the seat and yelled out, What are you doing? There's a car following us. I turned and it's still there, she replied calmly. As Sam looked behind them, Nicole ran a stop sign and made a sharp left-hand turn. The other car did the same. Okay, he said. I want you to pull over and let me drive. There's no time for that. He's got a gun. Nicole sped up and ran through the tail end of a yellow light. The other car ran the red light and continued to tell them. She turned into an alley and took another sharp left onto a side road, barely avoiding a collision with a large truck. This put a little distance between the two cars, and she immediately made a right-hand turn. Nicole, you've got to let me drive. Pull over. We'll switch places inside and we can do it quickly, Sam commanded. Nicole looked in the rearview mirror and saw the car turn onto the road behind them. Don't worry, Sam. I know what I'm doing. Are you crazy? Joel told you to obey me. I'm in charge here, remember? Pull over. Instead, Nicole turned a sharp right, then another quick sharp right, then another, and right again. It's okay, Sam. I told you. I know what I'm doing. Programming, Sam. Oh, great. Programming. I thought you were supposed to be integrated. I am. That doesn't mean that the girls are gone. It just means that now I'm aware of other experiences and abilities I didn't know I had before. See? Now we're behind the pursuer. The hunter has become the hunted. Write down their license. He saw that she was right. I hope you got it, 'cause we're off, Nicole said as she turned again to the left and made several more turns, weaving in and out of the neighborhood they had just entered. We lost 'em, she said victoriously as she looked over at Sam, who was sitting as white as a ghost. How do we get to the grocery store? Sam looked straight ahead with a glazed look in his eyes. I thought I was going to die. Pull over. She pulled up alongside the curb. But you didn't. I did a good job of driving. See, we're safe now. Nicole was just beginning to realize what she had done. Yes, you did do a good job. That's partly what terrifies me. You didn't listen to my orders, and a 7-year-old took over control. You could have gotten us killed, or worse, killed somebody else. Now Sam was angry. Get out of the car. I'm driving. Sam opened his door and came around to the driver's side. As he opened her door, she said, Hey, I'm not 7 anymore. I'm a grown-up. She got into the car with a pout on her face, and as she stalked around to the passenger door, she suddenly smiled. He said I did a good job. They didn't go to the store. Sam drove them back to Joel's home. Nicole could tell that he was still upset, so she didn't say anything until they got inside and were standing in front of Joel, who was looking at them with questions in his eyes. Well, where are my supplies? We never made it, sir, Sam reported. We were followed and Zero took over. She's not ready, sir. Nicole punched Sam on the arm. It's Zira, not Zero. You call me that again and I'll bust your nose. Looking back at Joel, she innocently asked, And I'm not ready for what? Both of you sit down now and stop this bickering. They looked like 2 little kids, both coming to complain to their dad about the other. Now, first of all, Sam, you need to apologize to Nicole for calling her Zero. That was a low blow for someone who's just learning that they are valuable. Sam's eyes narrowed as he thought about that. Then he took a deep breath and looked at Nicole. He's right. I'm sorry for calling you Zero. Please forgive me for that. She looked at him, then said, Okay, I forgive you, but only if you mean it. I mean it. Okay, then. Will you forgive me for saying that I'll bust your nose? Okay, but how about saying sorry for not obeying me? I'm not sorry about that. I did the right thing, she said. Sam stood up and was ready to argue. Sit down, Sam, Joel commanded. When he complied, Joel said, Now, Sam, tell me what happened. Sam said, Nicole noticed that a black sedan was following us. I confirmed that this was the case, and I told her to pull over and let me drive. She refused to obey my orders, sir. Did she immediately lose them? Maybe they weren't really after you. Sam said they were definitely following, and one had a gun. She did a good job of outwitting them, and we ended up following them. Joel asked, Did she seem out of control? No, sir. She was very calm. Nicole asked, Did you get their license plate number, Sam? No. She said, MCZ186 DC. Joel and Sam both looked at her. Sam dolefully said, Wow. Joel began to smile like a proud papa. She's right, Sam. She did exactly what she should have done. Sam looked at Joel incredulously. Excuse me, sir? She did not obey orders, and I thought that was the test. Exactly, Joel said. She examined the circumstances and thought for herself. She made a decision based upon the situation and her ability to handle it. She did not blindly follow as she would have if her programming had not been deactivated. She passed the test. She is ready. Nicole asked, "What test? That was a test? You set that up? You manipulated me!" She closed her eyes against the pain. She didn't know if she was angry, hurt, or disappointed. "Breeze, look at me," Joel said. When she looked up, he explained, "I had to know the condition of the programming and how you would respond to it for your own sake. I'm sorry that I set you up, but there was no other way to test it. There just isn't enough time. I believe that you need to accompany Sam to Chicago, but I was unwilling to allow it if I thought there was a possibility that you would react in a way that would compromise you, Sam, or this mission. But I assure you that this will be the last time I manipulate circumstances in your life." He paused, then said, "Well, at least without your knowledge. Missions are planned out, and certain things get manipulated, and you will have to follow certain orders. But I want you to use your mind and think things through. Even under orders, there are times like today when you have hard decisions to make." Nicole was thoughtful. "I think I understand why you did that. I don't like it because it makes me feel used rather than loved. But I do trust you, and I believe that you mean what you say about not purposefully tricking me." "That being said," Joel added, "Sam has made a very good point, and we must discuss obedience." Sam lifted his head a little higher at the acknowledgement. Joel continued, "You are in a rather unusual position, Nicole. Zira was programmed and trained to do things that you have been unaware of until now, and she believes that she is wise. She may be that in certain areas, but she lacks maturity. Her training and immaturity, coupled with the newness of integration, can cause conflict within yourself and, as you know, with Sam. The two of you are going to have to work together. Nicole, you're going to have to stay in control of that part of you. And you, Zira included, especially Zira, needs to know that you must obey Sam from here on out. What you did today was a test. But from now on, if Sam gives an order, you are to obey it, even if you do not agree. If there is an opportunity to appeal, fine. But the decisions will be made by Sam, and you will follow his lead. That is the only way this will work. Can you agree to this?" "Yes, I can, and I will." "Sam?" Nicole turned to look at him. "I'm so sorry. I hadn't thought about how I undermined you and your leadership. If you will forgive me and give me another chance, I will submit to you. I can't promise that I'll do everything right, but even Zira understands that you need to be our boss, and we will listen to you and do our best to obey you. Will you forgive us?" Sam was quiet a minute and then said, "Well, I guess I have to. I don't want Zira to bust my nose." And all three of them laughed together. It felt good to be on the same page with Sam again. But Nicole had another question. "Joel, what other things do I know how to do that I don't know about?" "That, my dear Breeze, will have to be discovered or not. Jesus holds all those keys in his capable hands. I've handed over my key ring to the master," Joel contentedly sighed. "Good," Nicole agreed. "What's the next step?" "Well, our first objective is to identify the location of the clone center and see what we can do to shut it down," Sam said. Joel interjected, "Yes, but bear in mind that the clones are to be treated as human beings, Sam." "Right. I'm not sure what we'll find there," he said. "I'm thinking that if we can get a visual, we'll be able to decide how best to terminate their function. I don't know if that will be as simple as a computer shutdown or as complex as a militia takeover." Nicole asked, "Do we have an army that can help? How many of us are there?" Joel said, "I wouldn't exactly call it an army, but we have a sizable number of ops who can be sent into specific situations such as this." He looked at Sam. "How do you propose you gain the information on the center?" he asked. Sam answered, I've had men on Damon and Dorothy 24/7 since Nicole identified them. We bugged Rosie's. We've been pulling phone records, bills, looking into every customer we can trace. We've left no stone unturned, and we've come up with nothing other than a possible name in 2 days. We can continue to hope and watch, but I do have 2 ideas. The first is plausible, but I believe that the second would be most likely to succeed. Go on, Joel acknowledged. Alias Peter Chevelle is a legitimate front. He does have a clothing line that is a lucrative business in the fashion industry, but it is also a cover for the pornography, high-end prostitution, and sex trafficking trade. We can send Gus in as a prospective client and see how far he can get. Who's Gus? Nicole asked. Joel explained, Gustav, or Gus as we call him, is our German international op. He was silent a moment while thinking. That might work, he said. With the intel we did get from Rosie's, he would have a name to throw around. Sam took a deep intake of breath and let it out as he said, There is a fashion show tonight in Chicago, and Gus is in Denver. I could meet him there and brief him on the flight to Chicago. Joel nodded. And the second proposal? The uneasy expression that flickered across the left side of Sam's face, along with the way he rubbed his right cheek with the palm of his hand, made Nicole say, Uh-oh. In a nutshell, he said, I propose that we kidnap Megan, deactivate the bugs and her eyeball camera lenses, have Nicole impersonate Megan and send her back to Damon, that is, assuming that he's her handler. He'll most likely take her to the clone center and we'll follow. There was that expression again. Nobody said anything as they contemplated what that would look like. Finally, Nicole said, Whoa, that's creepy. So you basically want me to be the bait and walk into the lion's den? Basically, yes, Sam said. But you won't have to be in too much danger if all goes as planned. Once you're in place and we have eyes and ears, we'll be able to move in. You'll be wired and we'll be close by. She asked, wouldn't they know I wasn't Megan? I mean, I wouldn't have her bugs and cameras, would I? She suddenly grew fearful that they would want to implant Megan's in her. Joel said, Don't worry, Breeze. We'll not implant anything in you. He paused as if thinking it through before reluctantly admitting, That could actually work. Timing would be everything. Jake would have to drug Megan. We'd need a tech team standing by to cause an area-wide technical shutdown that would keep Damon from suspecting that Megan was the target and unaware that there was a problem. I'm assuming that she has the standard programming protocol for this type of error, which would be for her to make contact with her handler. We don't have that info, unless Rosie's Bar and Grill is the contact. Sam added, Once we've deactivated the computer connections in Megan, we can interrogate her. She may give us the info. Possibly, Joel said. It is worth a try, but we mustn't forget the spiritual ties. We'll need to make sure that the demons attaching her to her handler are shut down. Nicole, do you think that your friends and intercessors would be able to help with that? Nicole nodded thoughtfully. I'm sure they would be willing to help and that the Holy Spirit would show them exactly what to do. Once Megan's shut down, we can copy the eye implants and make contact lenses for Nicole that will look like Megan's implants, Sam said. That way, when Damon or Dorothy looks into her eyes, they'll see what they're expecting to see, at least at first glance. Hey, aren't we assuming a lot here? Nicole asked. What if they know right away that I'm not Megan? Or what if they don't take me to the clone center? Then what? Well, that's why we needed to make sure that your old programming is as ineffective as possible before you come face to face with them. In case things go differently than we plan, we wanted to make sure that the old triggers won't work. We should be able to extract you before they begin to traumatize you or worse. Trauma. You really know how to entice a girl, Sam. It sounds so appealing. How could I refuse? Nicole shook her head and buried it in her arms with a groan. Nicole, you have been chosen and prepared for such a time and purpose as this. Her Savior's voice was like healing ointment and strength to her soul. It is time for you to face the human side of the enemy. You've done well battling in the spiritual realm, but you must overcome the fear of your giant as well. Fear not, for I am with you. I will strengthen and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Remember, I am your Redeemer. I have not brought you here to leave you. I am with you always. Lord, you know that we don't want Nicole to have to do this. Please give us your wisdom. Joel spoke in prayer and contemplation. I know that we can hope for the best, but chances are that if Nicole goes in, she will be exposed to some degree of trauma. Before we make that decision, we need to know that that is God's design. Sam agreed. I'm sorry if I was insensitive, Nicole. I do understand the risk involved and the personal cost for you, and I don't want you to suffer. It's just that I've been thinking about this for several days now, and I don't see any other way that would be as effective. Nicole suddenly understood a truth that changed her whole perspective. She sat up straight and looked at Sam as she said, "It's okay. I will never be traumatized again. If the worst happens, I would be tortured, but not traumatized. I never thought about the difference before, but to me, trauma signifies breaking down to the point of submission. Torture is the inflicting of pain, but I now have the divine power to resist the devil as I submit to God, and he will help me stay clear of the breaking point." She jumped up and down and began walking back and forth in front of the couch as boldness and confidence grew within her. "Do you realize what this means? They might be able to hurt my body, but they can never touch my soul again. I've been redeemed. I can confidently say, 'The Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?' Okay, guys, it's going to be okay. I can do this." Sam and Joel sat looking at her in unbelief, watching this woman who was talking about torture with a look of excitement and contentment on her face. Joel closed his mouth and looked at Sam. "Now she's scaring me," he said. "I know that she's right, but I'd rather not have to put her in that position." Sam said, "There is one thing we will do. Once Megan is down, we can try to tap into her chips and see if we can get info out of them. But I'm assuming that there's a failsafe that deletes all information once disconnected from her body for this very reason, so that no one can use their own tech against them. However, if I'm wrong about that and it works, Nicole won't have to go in undercover." He paused and then said, "The only other thing I can come up with is haphazard at best." Joel lifted one eyebrow in question, and Sam answered, "We could kidnap Damon or Dorothy and torture them until they give." "You can't be serious," Nicole exclaimed. Sam shrugged. "I didn't say it was a good idea. It's just the only other one I have." Joel leaned his head back against his chair and closed his eyes. After a few minutes, Nicole began to think he had fallen asleep. She looked at Sam, who just shrugged his shoulders again and began to pace the well-worn and only path in the room. "Make it so." Joel hadn't moved and said the words so quietly that Nicole thought she had imagined it. But Sam heard it too. "Sir?" he asked. Joel opened his eyes, and with what seemed great effort he lifted his head. "Make it so. Contact Gus and meet him in Denver. Take Breeze with you. If Gus fails, we'll send her in." He closed his eyes and motioned with his arm that they were dismissed. Sam turned, ready to leave the room, but Nicole stayed sitting, watching Joel. "Sir, are you okay? Can I get you some tea or something?" she asked. He opened his eyes but didn't lift his head. "I'm fine. Now go get ready for Chicago." She looked into his eyes and then nodded. She stood and followed Sam to the door. "Nicole." She stopped and looked back into the room. "Sir?" "My prayers are with you." Nicole ran back into the room, knelt down in front of the Ancient One that had come to mean so much to her in such a short period of time, and she hugged him. "Thank you, sir, and mine are with you." She planted a kiss on top of his head as she stood to her feet, and then she turned and left the room without looking back, so that he would not see the tears that were streaming down her face. Had she done so, she would have seen an old man wiping tears from his eyes as well. Let them think I'm just a tired old man, Joel thought to himself once he was alone. Better that than for Nicole to know how much she means to me and how much I dread the thought of placing her in such a dangerous position. May she never know how terrified I am for her. May she never know the grief that this decision has cost me. Oh God, help us all. He closed his eyes. There was a deep feeling of unrest and what? A thought had been tugging at his corners of his mind, but he had dismissed it until now when the other more pressing decisions had been made, and then he knew. He had ordered a car to follow Nicole and Sam, but the license number Nicole gave was not his car, and in the intensity of the situation he had failed to notice that the agent had not signed in. He picked up the phone and called Hopper. No answer. This was not good. He quickly dialed Sam's number. "Sir," Sam answered. "Be careful, Harry. The tail this morning was not ours. Hopper hasn't checked in or answered my call." "Copy that, sir. You watch your back as well," Sam responded. Joel closed the phone as Jemima came into the room bringing a fresh pot of tea. "Mr. Joel, what be ailin' you?" she asked. He closed his eyes again and sighed. "I'm a foolish old man, Jemima. Perhaps I am too ancient to be in such a dangerous business. Too many things to keep in order inside my mind." He cringed as he thought of the ramifications of what could have been this morning. "Well, sir, has the good Lord released you from this position?" she asked. Joel opened his eyes and smiled at his companion. "No. No, he hasn't. Thank you for the reminder, my friend. But we must pray," he said. The two gray heads bowed before the one who held the lives of those they loved in the palm of his hand.